Hi everyone, and thanks for checking out my YouTube channel. I'm back with another review of something I just finished. I'm going to be talking about No One Is Talking About This by Patricia Lockwood. This was longlisted for the Booker in 2021. I actually think that I might have bought this book in 2021, and it's taking me a while to get around to it, but I'm really glad I did. I really enjoyed reading this. There are a few reasons why, but let me give you a little bit of the premise first. So Patricia Lockwood is a poet as well as a fiction writer, and the style of this book really reflects that. It's almost like reading slam poetry. The main character, it's told through first person, is a woman, maybe like in her late 20s or early 30s is what I would guess. Probably born the same time as me, like a millennial, who kind of grew up with the same relationship or timeline with social media and the internet as I did, like Tumblr era, MySpace, and then moving into other social media. And this woman does social media full time, it feels like. It's definitely her job to be kind of like a commentator or a woman who gives talks or who opines online. And there's two parts. The first part is a bunch of these snippets, or the whole book is written kind of in these short paragraphs, just one after another. And the first part of the book is really just the experience of being online and how random and absurd and political it can be. And I think it really reflects just the absurdity of like the things that we talk about online and the trends and how quickly things can like become a huge deal online, but then immediately also fall to the wayside and are never referred to again. And the way that she describes these like different experiences and the communal kind of vibe of being online, or being chronically online is what we call it now, is super interesting and super unique. I don't think there's any book that even tries to tackle it like she does, which is mind-boggling. If you think about the influence that the internet and social media has on everyone's everyday life, the fact that there hasn't been more like movies or books that have tried to kind of encapsulate that or react to that really does blow my mind. And I do feel like there should be more films about how we're addicted to our phones, or about how our perception of identity and self has really become warped with the kind of ubiquity or the ubiquitousness of the internet and social media. But besides some kind of like superficial documentaries or some things about like horror or beauty, I'm thinking of like the substance, there's not really anything that comes to mind that like really dives deep into that. There is one movie called Searching, which came out in 2018, and it's about a young girl who goes missing, and then the entire movie is told through the young girl's online presence, and the father is like looking through her like iMessages and her social media to try and find her. But that's still kind of more like a thriller. It's more like a mechanism or a vehicle to tell this like thriller story. I don't know, I feel like there should be way more art and artistic reaction to how perverse the experience of being online is and how it feels so weird. So that's how I would really describe the first part of this book. There are so many incredible quotes, but I realize it's kind of cringe to like read quotes out on a YouTube video, so you can like DM me if you want to know my favorite quotes, but there are some that are just so perfectly encapsulate like the weirdness and just like the fact that being online so much reflects time, like the time period. Like there's such a strong sense of chronology when you're online, because it's like everyone experiences like a trend or a meme or some phenomenon at like the same time. And so then that kind of like pulls us together, even though the internet is also such an alienating force. She calls it the portal, which I think is like a really unique and interesting way to like personalize or like describe the internet, because when you join the portal or go into the portal, it's almost this like otherworldly experience of something, that's both like community building as well as community ostracizing. The book also takes place during, I mean, I feel like the internet is a very political place. And so that also comes through in a lot of her little like snippets of being online. And I feel like one of the things that really comes across strongly is going online as a form of escapism from like political terror and like the hellscape that is like American politics today, especially with like Trump's election. When you read this book, I feel like a lot of people would be like, oh, just touch grass. Like, you don't need to be online all the time. And like the natural antidote to this kind of feeling of anxiety and absurdity that is captured in this book is to just like go outside and unplug and detach. But on the other hand, like so many people are addicted to being online and addicted to social media. And I feel like what's presented in this book is for a lot of people, like their online presence is their reality. And that's kind of their identity and like this melding of minds that happens when people all get online and like consume the same things online. I think it would be a mistake to like poo-poo this as something that's not mainstream and that affects like a large swath of society. What she's describing really gets to the heart of something that's extremely like pervasive and pertinent to us as like human beings on the planet today. I also feel like she describes the fact that a lot of us become sheep online or like easily jump on the bandwagon onto things once we're online that maybe we wouldn't do in person, or maybe we would do it in person, but now so much of our interaction with the world is online. I think she does a really good job of like characterizing how people online kind of like move like a school of fish. Like they dart one way and then they dart the other way, and there's this kind of like assimilation that happens and dumbing down of your own ability to assess or parse what's going on around you when you join this like almost cult-like internet presence. So all of that I loved. I think it's like super, even though it's a few years since publication, I think it's still like really relevant and really incisive and like just so good. I just feel like there's not really any other art out there that captures that feeling of the impact of social media and being online, especially in terms of how it relates to like being a woman or pop culture or politics or just like these very like niche experiences. The second part of the book is more personal. It's about her experience with her niece. Her sister's daughter has a rare genetic condition called Proteus syndrome, which causes overgrowth, disproportionate overgrowth in the baby's body. But because they live in a state where abortions past a certain time are not allowed, her sister has to deliver the baby. And then once the baby is born, this unnamed protagonist just completely falls in love with the baby. The baby is only able to live for maybe a year or two, but the whole second part of the book is kind of making this comparison between the baby's brain and the fact that the baby's head is like growing too large for its body, and then the internet as like a communal mind. So I didn't enjoy the second part as much. I feel like it was a little bit of a stretch, and the more memoir style aspects of the writing I just don't think I connected with as much, but I still think it was good and it was well written, and I obviously can see why she wanted to write about this topic. It did combine a lot of the themes from the first part around, just like the political situation and being a woman online into this more personal narrative. But for me, the first part was just full of like really interesting descriptions and articulations of like what it is like to feel the both alienating as well as community building force of the internet. I love that kind of stuff. To me, that's really exciting. If that sounds interesting to you, I definitely think you should check this out. It kind of reminds me of a mix of like Gia Tolentino's Trick Mirror, which is a series of it's a collection of nonfiction essays, but she does talk a lot about like the internet and being a girl boss, which is also like a key way that you show up as a woman online. And in combination with Maggie Nelson's Argonauts. Argonauts is also kind of like a memoir where she pulls in a lot of like contemporary references and a lot of literary references, and it's kind of like stream of consciousness. That one is much more a memoir, but this book also does have kind of a memoir feel to it because it is this unnamed woman kind of like telling us about all of her experiences, which I feel like it's easy to project that onto Patricia Lockwood as the author. So if you like Gia Tolentino or you like Maggie Nelson, I definitely think you should give this a shot. I'll just read you one of my favorite quotes. It's short, so it's not cringe. It's early on, it's on page 8. And the unnamed protagonist is just like a one short sentence. She goes, "Something in the back of her head hurt. It was her new class consciousness." That's so funny, and it's so true. Like, everyone's so politically activated online, but then in real life, they don't do jack when it comes to like building community or voting or being politically activated. So this whole phenomenon of who you are online versus who you are in the real world is just something that I feel like is really under-examined when it comes to artistic responses to that whole like transformational thing that happened when we all got access to the internet. Thanks for watching this video. I really appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you in the next one.